Good day, fellow Jersey nerds. Welcome to episode 45 of the Jersey Nerds podcast, powered by HockeyJerseyConcepts.com. I am your host, Ryan, and on today's podcast, we're going to be talking about the emergence of the Heritage uniform. This past week, we got Heritage uniforms from both the New Jersey Devils and the St. Louis Blues. And we're also going to be talking about the logos and speculating about jerseys for the 2019 Winter Classic. We got logos for the Chicago Blackhawks and Boston Bruins. We're also going to be doing fake or authentic, throwback throwdown, and if we have some time, we might throw the mailbag in there as well. Joining me this week are the usuals. Monday's writer, Shawn. Shawn, what's been going on?
I think we can all agree this week we got a lot more news than we have any other week this summer. And it came in the so-called last week of summer. Today's jersey is a Heritage jersey, if you could call it that. Maybe the first Heritage jersey to come out in the Edge era. The direct, I think it's, 56, 57 throwback for the Chicago Blackhawks?
From the 2015 Winter Classic.
Exactly. Actually, no, that would be, I am incorrect.
Oh, you're right.
It is not a Heritage jersey. It's actually a faux-back. The jersey itself is from 57, 58, but the logo isn't.
And who's on your jersey?
The one, the only, Mr. Marian Hossa.
Mr. Skin
The only
Condition.
person that ever put a Sens jersey on and me go, yeah, all right.
No.
Okay, I still like him.
It's like two separate careers.
Like Marian Hossa.
It's like two separate careers. One with the Sens, and then the other one with the Hawks.
Are we just completely disregarding the fact that he spent many productive seasons with hockey's greatest franchise, the Atlanta Thrashers?
Didn't he spend 1.5?
I completely erased that from my memory. If you haven't heard already, joining us this week as well as Friday's writer TC. But I completely erased Marian Hossa.
He was there early enough to wear the original dark jerseys. Like, he only wore them for that 05-06 season when they came back from the lockup. But it's really weird because I always picture him with the baby blue jerseys. And then you see him in the weird, he played with Peter Bondra on the Thrashers. If you remember that 05-06 team.
Well, there was a time where it was Kovalchuk and Hossa on the same team, and Slava Kozlov.
Totally forgot about that. Unbelievable.
Those were the days. One season, the Thrashers were relevant, and look what they did in the playoffs.
They had some decent players. Like, you think about it. They had Hossa, Kovalchuk, obviously. Kobe Armstrong, Bufflin,
Hedberg.
Hedberg, sure. Lettinen was supposed to be a superstar. It's amazing they were.
Looking at them on paper, they should have been so much better than they were.
They really should have been. But Greg DeVries, of course. But anyways.
Ooh, Garnet Exelby.
Garnet Exelby is Mr. Thrasher himself. He spent, what was it, 9 seasons with the Thrashers? I think he played one other season in Toronto, and it wasn't even a full season.
I remember when he came to Toronto, and I was like, wow, Mr. Thrasher is in Toronto. Oh my gosh, what a terrible pickup.
I think he even requested to get out of Toronto. Might have been halfway through the season, and he's like, nope, fuck this, I'm out.
You know your team is in a bad spot when someone can spend a decade playing for the Thrashers and then be like, no, fuck this place.
You know what it was? It was there were too many fans in the stands and he got skittish. He got scared. He was like, there's more than 10 people.
He got the yips.
What the hell is going on here?
He got the yips.
Where's Tom?
All right. Well, that's that. Let's get started with the news of the week. And we'll start in St. Louis, Missouri, where maybe the biggest news of the week came out. And that was the St. Louis Blues coming out with their Heritage jersey, which is a copy of their Winter Classic jersey, which is essentially a copy of their original 1967 jerseys. But this is certainly an interesting move because the NHL and Adidas/Reebok usually doesn't encourage teams to come out with direct replicas. They try and change something to entice the fans to buy the jersey so that fans who have the Winter Classic jersey aren't, ignoring this jersey because they think they already have it. But here we are. We get pretty much an exact copy. The only difference is all the Adidas treatments, the dimple shoulders, and most noticeably the collar. But I think they treated the collar perfectly. I think it was executed perfectly with just the thin gold trim there. That's what I like about the uniform. But Shawn, what sticks out to you about the St. Louis Blues heritage uniform?
I mean, first and foremost, it's clear not only that the fans like these jerseys, but the players themselves really like these jerseys. I think Alex Steen went on record and told the team these were his favorite jerseys he's ever worn, which thanks, Alex. Always thought you liked that blue and white better, but no. Okay. Anyways. No, these are, I think the thing that I like about this was that they kept them simple. This is the third time they brought them back, and this is the most they brought them back. This is no longer a one-off jersey for them. I actually think that using that vintage white looks good, and I'm glad they kept that. They kept everything, for the most part, that was likable about the 2017 versions of these. The TV numbers are different from the numbers on the back. You got the oversized name bar comparatively to a modern name bar. The striping looks good in the Adidas template. The collar, as you mentioned, they did it fantastically. I even don't mind the carryover of the St. Louis flag hanger effect, which, while it does stand out a little more than on the home and road, I get why they did it. And on top of that, it's just, the fact that they're calling this their heritage jersey, it isn't per se an alternate. It's their Saturday home game jersey, which is what the original purpose of alternates were going back to the early 80s Penguins.
TC, what are you thinking about this heritage uniform?
As a jersey, I really like it. I think that the original Blues jerseys are probably the strongest in their arsenal. I just love the way the baby blue works with the yellow, and the use of vintage white here actually works really well because it's not as dark as some of the other vintage whites we've seen. It's more of an off-white than an almost beige, and I think it's close enough to white that it works, but also far enough off that you really get that vintage feel. And the fact that they included that special shade of white in the gear as well is a really nice touch.
Yeah, definitely. It looks fantastic on the gloves. The pants look great as well. They're a little bit different blue, but it's not overly noticeable. But yeah, the vintage white is a fantastic touch there. As far as some off-putting things, I think Shawn mentioned it. He likes the hanger effect, but I think that really kind of takes away from the whole heritage aspect of the jersey. You can't really see it, obviously, when the player wears it, but I think it's completely unnecessary. I know why it's there, but I think it looks completely out of place. Shawn, is there anything that sucks about this jersey?
I don't know if sucks is the word, but I feel like the lack of felt in the logos and numbers really hurts this. I remember going out and getting the 2017 version of this and just feeling how solid and thick the numbers were because they were triple layered felt instead of the usual material, and the logo itself was also that. I get that they don't want to do that with these because these are their actual alternates, but I just feel that it takes away from that sort of vintage vibe of it. Now it's just sort of more of a heritage jersey than it's like a real throwback. And that's probably the biggest thing is that, I feel like that vintage level that they try to go for with the off-white kind of gets stripped away when you put modern. They're not going to be the perforated numbers or anything. Let's hope they're not anyways. But they're not quite that high-quality Winter Classic.
TC?
I'm gonna have to agree with you, Ryan, that the hanger effect is unnecessary. Especially for me, it just throws off the whole color palette. I know it's not going to be seen on the ice, but the fact that it exists kind of bothers me. I will say I really liked the big, bulky yellow sweater type collars on the Winter Classic versions of these jerseys. So I'm kind of sad to see those gone. Although with the way Adidas treats collars normally, This could have been a lot worse. But the biggest thing for me, and I guess it's just Adidas manufacturing, but the logo on the front, it looks like the yellow and white outline over the blue, which is just still the same material as the jersey. And I guess that's to make it lighter, but it kind of seems like a cheap way to save money on materials in my eyes.
Yeah, I hear you on that one. I mean, it does make the jersey lighter, but I don't think it's necessary. It's not going to make a difference. I mean, it's negligible at best. And especially if there's going to be one thing on replicas that they like to ignore on ice features versus replicas, or I guess authentics as they call them. This is one feature that probably we don't need on the authentic jerseys sold in stores. Just give us a regular full patch, not any kind of lightweight material. Not really needed. One thing though that is bothering me now that I look at it, they had the upper body picture of Tarasenko modeling the jersey, and I think the hem stripes on the back, they're just, I know Adidas likes the hem stripes to run with the hem of the jersey. They just look to plunge way too low, and it's off-putting. I don't think it's going to be that noticeable when they're playing, but just from this still shot of Tarasenko on the back, the hem stripes, they look really weird. It just might be an Adidas thing. I don't know if anybody else feels that way or if it ruins the jersey or whatever, but
I think it just kind of is what Adidas does. Like, I can definitely see your point. There's a lot of blank space between the hem stripe and the numbers, but when you look at the front and they're trying to keep it consistent with the front, it's not that bad on the front. I think it's just the cut of the jerseys and the way that Adidas likes to do their hem stripes.
Yeah, hopefully it doesn't take away from the final product on ice, and that's, I guess, what really matters. Also coming out with a heritage jersey this week were the New Jersey Devils, who maybe this one was a little surprising and without nearly as much fanfare as the Blues did. They came out with their heritage jersey. They're going with a white version of their 80s jersey with the red and green color scheme. The big difference here again is the collar, where on the original jerseys from the 80s, it was a 3-color collar that went red, green, red. They did not do that, and I think it's a smart move here. Kind of works with the Adidas collar. They did the best that they can do with the Adidas collar. And of course, the other change is the one that they're doing with all their modern throwbacks, the Devils are, and that is using their current font and current number style rather than the block font that they used in the 80s. So TC, we'll start with you. What really draws you in with this jersey?
Everything. I know New Jersey is loath to make anything, but I can sort of respect that, especially when they choose this jersey. This, in my eyes, is the best jersey that the Devils have ever worn. The original was fantastic, but I think this actually improves. I think the font works better, and I also really like going away from that green, red, green tricolored collar to just the black with the little red around it. It's a vast improvement in my eyes, and I just love the feeling that it's almost a Christmas theme, but it still manages to be a good looking jersey. Like, it's not too cartoonishly Christmas, but it just works. And the gear that they included with this is very solid. I like that they went all out, and instead of just saying, okay, we'll just use our normal gear and be whatever, they put the green on the gear. This one, I think, because it's not like the way that the St. Louis jersey, the hem on the back goes all the way, the hem stripe on the back goes all the way to the bottom. This one doesn't. And so I think they were able to move it up a little higher so it doesn't have that huge blank space between the hem stripe and the numbers on the back. So I just think they did a fantastic job with this jersey.
Yeah, we'll have to see how it looks on the ice, but you hit the nail on the head there with the gear. Just the green pants are really going to be awesome, and that is what I remember most about the 80s Devils. Shawn, what are you really loving about these jerseys?
I think TC nailed everything about these jerseys. These are probably my favorite jerseys in Devils history. And first and foremost, I think it's worth mentioning that this means that now the Devils have only ever worn 6 designs. And they've worn them all twice.
As in,
so we got the Edge and the pre-Edge, black, that was the same. We got the Edge throwback in the original 80s jerseys. Then we got these. And we got the original 80s home.
All right.
So basically, the Devils have 6 designs. And before last year, it was 4. So, on the one hand, I don't want them to come up with new alternates.
No.
They shouldn't.
Yeah, at this point, what else are they going to do? This is what this seems to be what people want.
Yeah, and good, because it works. And I think that honestly, just keeping your home and road set simple, again, I'm one of the people who likes their current home and road, but please bring the green and red back. Have another donut, Mickey Mouse, that type of thing.
Go ahead.
I really respect them going the alternate route and not doing the obvious black for black's sake, because they have black in their uniform already, and they didn't just go ahead and go, all right, we're going to do a black version of our red jersey. Everyone will like that. It'll look cool.
I agree. And I would, and the funny thing is, it'd probably look decent, but it'd just be superfluous. There's no point in that jersey existing.
This is a little bit more, not necessarily a risky step, but when you're coming out with a white jersey, you are asking a lot of teams to bring their other jerseys on the road with them. So it's not necessarily an easy jersey matchup, or you're saying you're taking this jersey on the road and it's more of an attempt to sell it league wide rather than with your home fans.
But Ryan, what is more New Jersey than saying, fuck you, this is what we're doing, you work around?
True enough. It's a symbol.
First of all, they would never say fuck you, they'd say get bent.
Fair enough.
Yeah, first of all, it'd be get bent. I'm whatever they're doing here. And the biggest thing I think with this is that there are teams that I think want an excuse to wear their dark jerseys on the road. Would Montreal and Pittsburgh really complain if they had to, I guess we'll suffer through and bring our clearly superior dark jerseys on the road here, New Jersey? You're really yanking our balls here. At this point, there are just some teams that look better. And, there's some teams that have, the vintage jersey look that are going to look fantastic in these. Pittsburgh, for example.
Oh, yeah.
There are some teams right now, as it sits, that are going to have that 80s, without even it being intentional, that are going to make every game look like it's 1988 and New Jersey's coach bumped into the ref.
Maybe we can get some goaltending like 1988. That would be a fantastic.
You want Chico Resch?
Chico Resch, Sean Burke.
Would have been Chris Terreri.
Chris Terreri, yep.
Yeah.
Marty Brodeur wearing number 29, I think it was. I think he either got into some preseason action or one regular season game, 91-92, and he's wearing number 29. So that's out there. I don't know if there's too much to dislike. As far as I'm concerned, it's just Adidas things that we're never going to get rid of. Again, the hem stripes on the back are not looking great to me. And the dimpled yolks kind of stand out here in a negative way. But it's not something we're going to change. I don't know if there's anything you guys can spot on these jerseys. We'll start with TC that isn't quite connecting.
Drawing a blank.
Yeah.
I got one.
All right,
and it's a minor thing. It's a preference thing. But when you think 80s designs, particularly it's the Sabres and Devils that did this. The huge, thick yoke outline is gone, and I happen to be a fan of that trend. So when I look at this jersey, I see normal size double outline. I'm like, it doesn't look bad, but it's missing that sort of visceral 80s trend that was part of the original jersey, and it's pulling it's pulling teeth here, but asking Adidas to do this would be a little much. But
if that's the biggest issue we have with this jersey, then
100%, you're right.
This is fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. It's just you didn't do what the original did better, but the current fabric system doesn't allow for it, and it's also not 1988. So it's a solid jersey.
And you make up for it by fixing the collar.
Yeah, it's an improved collar. I would agree. So it also could be an issue with the Adidas branding on the back too. If we're going for accuracy, Shawn, you're talking about the double outline on the yoke. Essentially, what they have, the white and the green, what they currently have, that should be the green, and then another line, the same thickness, should be the white inside it. But that would probably interfere with the placement of the Adidas logo on the back there. So that may be one reason why don't mess with Adidas. Yep, gotta have the branding in. All right, so I did have a couple questions here. Not to rain on this parade, because these are two really great jerseys, but are we getting into a phase, much like in the 90s, we had black jerseys just for the sake of black jerseys. Are we now in the phase where it's just retro for retro's sake? I mean, these are great jerseys, but I don't know if they had to be brought back. I don't know how you feel about this, Shawn, but are we at the stage where we're just doing retro for retro's sake?
Not that these teams are doing it, but 100%. I think that the worst offenders here are Philly and the Islanders. Just because, and as well as you could throw Calgary and Edmonton and Buffalo in there too. We just have teams whose fan bases seem to never be happy with what the team puts out, even if it's solid. And they just want the same decent but okay. If Calgary brings back those Sea Red jerseys, great. Do something new. Wear those on Saturday, sure, but bring me a new alternate. Edmonton finally goes for orange. What do? They start, fans are, I really want them to wear the Gretzky jerseys. Those weren't even that nice. They're okay, but they look better in orange, I'll be blunt. New York, they look better in almost every other jersey they've worn, but it's the whole, they were good when they wore this. I have good memories of it. Just keep wearing it. And Buffalo's the worst with this because they had two, albeit by this point dated, but at the time trendy designs that were thrown out despite the teams being, better than they ever were. So honestly, I think that at this point, teams don't want to risk, and granted, sure, every Turnberger or current Carolina jersey comes out, fine. But, that doesn't mean that you don't, just because a couple teams make some really bad jerseys, doesn't mean you stop trying to make the good alternates. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had at the beginning of the Edge era, we wouldn't have had Minnesota and St. Louis come out with the best Edge jerseys at the time.
TC, how about you? Are we at the retro for retro's sake phase?
I think we kind of are. But I think it was kind of brought in by the Winter Classic. Teams would start wearing these throwbacks and throwbacks, started garnering a lot of attention and a lot of love from the fans who are saying, yeah, some of these older designs really are fantastic. They're teams that have definitely tried to update their uniforms and have downgraded in the process. And so I think a lot of people are hearkening back. Also, you get a bunch of these teams like Buffalo, like Vancouver, that just, they haven't been good in a long time. So they want uniforms that sort of remind them of how good they were. So they're clamoring for a bygone era and hoping that somehow, I guess by osmosis, these designs will make their teams better.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. I think we're at that stage. I think, for me, retro for retro's sake, and I know I'm in the minority here, but Arizona this year coming out with the Kachina jersey, I just don't have the attachment that everyone else has to it. For me, that's just retro. I know
because you're old.
It's because I'm old.
But you're
right?
but you're attached to those to the '80s Sabres jersey, and I look at those and go, okay, Patty LaFontaine, and then you bring me the black jerseys, and I go, Michael Becca. So
and again, if the goat head jerseys came out again, I would groan, and that would be a retro for retro's sake. And
The goat head is glorious.
Here's the thing: wear throwbacks. Like wasn't the whole point of the NHL vintage program like have your modern alternates, but here, every so often let's wear a vintage. Like that's a good idea, but when I see these teams, just everything they come out like, okay, the Calgary script alternate brought us a fantastic shoulder patch. Some decent, additional. It proved that they could add black to their color scheme. Look pretty good. The mountain yoke.
Yep.
Oh, you listen to Calgary fans talk about those. They go on about how I remember Lanny McDonald and Theo Fleury, and I'm like,
why did you just move Calgary to the eastern coast of Canada there?
There's a lot of Calgary fans out here.
I'll be goddamned if I hear you say a bad word about Lanny McDonald. That is
I will not say a bad word about Lanny McDonald
to ever exist.
I will not say a bad word about Lanny McDonald in the white jersey. Those red jerseys are decent.
Anybody?
But you brought up a good point about the Winter Classic. Like that's where these come from. You're exactly right. The problem is that teams like Pittsburgh and Calgary came out with original designs, and Washington too. I think we can all agree those were solid designs. What happened to them? They went away. They faded off. Like the best Winter Classic designs were gotten rid of within a year. Meanwhile, Chicago, that first Winter Classic jersey, I looked at it and went, meh. Oh my God, that jersey was like on the top of everyone's top 10 jersey list, like 2011. Like, it wasn't that nice.
2011?
Yeah, like the 09 jersey.
Oh, yeah. Well,
like, remember back in the good old days of HJC, back when it was like, 20 people and we didn't have a podcast. But how many black chest stripe? I think everybody made one.
Oh yeah,
the black chest stripe, Blackhawks All-Star. That was the trend of the time. Like
I think the 09 Winter Classic just opened the floodgates and made it acceptable that chest stripe designs were okay for everyone.
But it wasn't even the best one.
No,
it wasn't even that good.
I liked it, but I think the alternate they came out with 2 years later was even better for the Hawks.
Mm.
That's the one I like. Anyways,
I'll go out on a limb and say that I preferred the black alternate that they wore before that.
100%.
Again,
because I actually own that jersey.
I'll go a step further. I prefer the Stadium Series Blackhawks jersey, the second one.
Of course you do.
The second one.
The one with the weird collar?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I prefer that one to the chest stripey one for simple reason. It's new, it's unique, it's different. They tried something. They tried dusting off your dad's heart. Like honestly, I call it the Hartford Whaler problem. Because I think this stems from the Hartford Whalers and the Hartford Wolfpack, where you have all these people who want the Whalers to come back, but they won't go and support the Hartford Wolfpack.
And so Pucky is on welfare.
So Pucky goes on Pogey because Pucky can only get Pogey, and the Wolfpack guys got to go on Pogey because Wolfie's on Wolfie. People look at Wolfie and they want to punch him, but it's that whole thing of our team's crap, so we're not going to support them because they look bad supposedly, but they won't look good and they won't play good if they don't have fans in front of them. Cough, cough, Atlanta. So you know what I mean?
So stemming from what we've kind of touched on during all this talk here, is there a need, would it be okay for teams to have a heritage jersey along with an alternate jersey, or is that too much? Is that overdoing it? And at the same time, should the NHL be going to the NBA jersey system where one team picks whatever color they want to wear and then the other team just has to clash? TC.
Two-part question. One, I will say, yeah, this is exactly what I said in the post that Shawn wrote about the St. Louis jerseys. I like the idea of these heritage jerseys, but bring out something new as well. Don't just have your full-time alternate be a direct throwback. I like it as something to celebrate the past, but as someone who designs jerseys, I want to see something fresh. I want to see innovation. And that's why I hate the Carolina design. At least they went out on a limb instead of just going back to the past. So I can respect them for that. I don't like what they came out with, but I like that they took initiative. As for the NBA system, I like the idea, but I feel like the logistics of it would be a lot more difficult with all of the equipment that hockey players have to bring that your NBA players don't. Your NBA player, he brings shoes, he brings shorts, and he brings a jersey. That's it. Hockey players have a lot more that they need to contend with.
Agreed on that one. I'm not in favor of the NBA jersey system, pardon me, just based on the fact that I'm an old guy who doesn't like change, and I like tradition of having a...
Man, why don't we wear it at home anymore? Man.
No, I'm okay with the color jerseys at home, but...
No, I'm the white at home guy.
I'm okay as long as they just stick to one idea. Like,
yeah.
And I don't want the AHL stuff either, where they switch half season, or that's also...
No, that's ECHL.
That's ECHL, that's AHL, that's OHL, that's all of them that they switch. I don't want that in the NHL. But at the same time, like, I think what TC says, I agree with, whereas if they're going to have an alternate, it's got to be something new, and if they're going to have a heritage, that's fine. But if they're going to have a heritage, I want to see it less often. I want to see it maybe 4 times a year. So if I'm looking at the Leafs, for instance, and they have an alternate and a heritage, which I don't think they need, but let's see that heritage 4 times a year on Saturdays against Montreal and Boston. And that's about it, I don't know where you stand on this, Shawn, about alternates and heritage jerseys and then the NBA style jersey system.
I love I love the NHL Vintage program. I think it was like 8 or 9 when they rolled it out, and I thought it was the coolest idea ever. But at the same time, I understand where TC's coming from. The gear, I think that the middle ground on that is you do what the 06-07 Sabres did, which is keep your vintage jerseys, but don't be afraid to wear them with the modern gear.
Oh, that was awful.
And look like an asshat.
I actually loved it. Like, I thought it looked great.
They look like a beer team.
A really good
no, it was like when was it Jake Allen who wore the Winter Classic pads with the regular uniforms for the rest of the season? That was fucking terrible.
Okay, you're right, but you're right. Going on,
you can't say anything against that. That just looked awful.
I could say that it was worse when Antoniemi wore brown pads against in the 2015 Stadium Series, but what does that have to do with anything other than brown pads look terrible? Stop doing it, guys.
That's 2 clashing ideas. That's a modern Blue Jackets jersey clashing with classic pads.
I know, right? So, anyways, that's our stab in Antoniemi. Shout out to Antoniemi. We know you listen.
He's a huge fan. Huge fan.
Yeah.
We'll send you a sticker. Jeez, we got a lot of NHLers to send stickers to. But no, the NBA system, I don't like it because it's sort of it makes teams come out with jerseys for the sake of having a jersey that they can wear. But does Detroit or Montreal really need an alternate and a throwback? No. Does Toronto need a throwback? I mean, maybe. I mean, sure, why not? But yeah, I like what Ryan said. Like the whole, break your heritage jerseys out when your rivals in town, when you want to look your sharpest. Like, what, Winnipeg, like when Nashville's in town and you want to dress your best, you want to dress to impress. Like, yeah, wear your heritage classic style jerseys, sure.
Put them to shame.
Yeah, like look your best. But like if Toronto, like when Montreal or Boston's in town, yeah, wear your best. Wear your throwback, sure. They'll wear theirs. But like if you're Toronto and San Jose's in town, don't waste the Heritage Day credit on San Jose. Don't even waste it on Buffalo.
Credits like Bettman's going to each team before the season and giving them out tickets. Okay, here's your Heritage tickets. Redeem them wisely.
I feel like that would have been terrible in the Edge era because every team would wear them out. Like the early Edge era. Just imagine like Edmonton, you used yours in the first 3 games.
Yeah, Buffalo calls them up in mid-October. Gary, we're going to need some more of those Heritage tickets. What? You got 5?
I'll make you feel good.
All right, so let's wrap up our Heritage jersey talk here. Let's rate these uniforms as best we can here. We'll start with St. Louis. Shawn, your rating out of 10 for these St. Louis Adidas jerseys.
gets a solid 8 out of 10 from me. I like that they're doing the Saturday home thing. I just think that it's missing that little extra bit of quality we got in 2017. But as you said, when you're buying a fan jersey, sometimes you don't need every single bell and whistle.
TC?
I'm going to agree with Shawn on both rating and reasoning. I think it's a solid jersey, but I think it was done better in the Winter Classic. But it's still a fantastic design.
And I'm giving the Blues an 8.5. I think the colors look fantastic. I really love the collar treatment. I really think they just did the best they can do with the Adidas template with this jersey. So I give them an 8.5. Average score for the Blues, 8.2. So I guess we love our heritage jerseys as well. Let's look at the New Jersey Devils and what they did here. TC, you got a rating for them?
9.5. I can't find anything wrong with this jersey. Maybe what Shawn said about the thicker yoke striping, but again, that's something that isn't as easily done with this new system. So it's probably my favorite jersey of the Adidas era so far.
Shawn?
I'm going to give it a 9. You mentioned the problem with the back stripe. I think that it's especially emphasized on this jersey, but other than that, I don't have a flaw for it. And I think the team's better for introducing it.
I agree with everything you guys said. I also give it a 9. So that was 9 across the board. No, TC gave it a 9.5. So that gives it an average rating of 9.2. So it's pretty good considering where New Jersey is at with their regular home and road jerseys in the Adidas system. So let's look at our next topic here. Chicago, Boston showed us the logos they're going to use for the upcoming Winter Classic. Odd thing about this is usually accompanied by a press conference at the stadium where the game is going to be held, but I guess that wasn't available, or they just decided not to go with it. And then they do the cliche thing of trying to shoot a puck through the uprights. But that didn't happen at Notre Dame Stadium. Anyway, Chicago is going to be using a logo based on their 1926 original logo. We're talking black and white logo here. Blackhawks arched up top, Chicago arched down below. It's in a roundel. The difference here is they're using their modern logo, the outline of their modern logo in this black and white logo as opposed to the retro one, which they used in the 2009 Winter Classic. Boston is basing their logo on their 1934 jerseys, but they are using the current B from their current logo. Just what you guys thought when you originally saw these logos and what you're expecting as far as jerseys go, Shawn.
Yeah, Chicago finally gave me the Winter Classic jersey I've wanted all this time. That is the logo, not the jersey. Hopefully they give me the jersey I want, which is literally the jerseys with these logos. Honestly, when Chicago went to the league the first 3 years, they had like the best jerseys in the NHL. I love the black and white zebra-style stripes on the yoke. The sort of, I don't know what you would call that striping pattern on the arms and the hem, but it's gorgeous.
Jailhouse?
I mean, Jailhouse, sure. Sure. Let's call it Jailhouse. This was a really good-looking team from 1926 to 1934, which is funny because back then teams didn't really look good. They all just kind of looked like sweaters. I think this was one of the first teams up there with like Boston to really go, yeah, let's try some striping. And then Boston, I mean, these are also some of my favorite Boston jerseys. I love that Milt Schmidt sort of Krautline era jerseys. And honestly, what I'm hoping for is the football-style jerseys. Because I just think that, do it once. Wear the jerseys with the numbers on. Now, of course, that's going to, if poor Boston fans, well, I say poor, but, these will make you poor if they do the football-style jerseys because they're going to have to put 2 full-size set of numbers on the front and back. And if you buy a blank one, well, there you go.
Oh,
but you're an idiot.
Yeah, maybe,
really, though.
Maybe that's why they'll stay away from that, Shawn, because the blank replica sitting on the shelf, not only will they look terrible, but they won't distinguish themselves from other companies that can just replicate blank jerseys.
The knockoff guys will have a field day with those.
Try to sell that for $180 or whatever it is, $200. That's not going to fly. But TC, your thoughts when you saw the logos and what you're expecting for the jerseys?
When I saw these logos, I thought it was a really smart move on their part because they took these old designs and sort of merged their current identities into it. So it does have the throwback feel, but it does also tie into the modern identity. The Bruins, it's sort of a negligible difference. It's close enough of a B that it's not that bad. But the Chicago one really does it because I like the current outline that they use for the Blackhawk head better than older iterations. I think it's a much sleeker, more streamlined logo. As for jerseys, I'm going to go away from Shawn and say the Boston one. I hope they go for the 1934 to 1936, which we also saw when they wore for the 75th anniversary in 91-92.
Oh, yeah. You guys were alive to see that, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, no, I didn't see those jerseys for the first time on a Reggie Leach, Upper Deck 91-92 card. No. I was there. I was there at Boston Gardens. Yeah, I guess it was Boston Gardens.
Oh, yeah, it was still the Boston Gardens.
Spirit.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, we're us Kachina jersey loving youngins over here. We don't remember NHL.
Oh, my
75.
goodness. Now, just picture that. Imagine showing up in, let's say, the 60s to the Boston Garden wearing a Kachina jersey and having to explain that to the fans.
You'd be burned at the stake for witchcraft.
I feel like they'd go hockey in Arizona. They just got a basketball team down there. What do they need hockey for? They're happy down there.
They'd beat the piss out of you, and then it would be your fault for wearing that to a game.
What next? They're going to ask for baseball?
Baseball?
So,
as for
go
the Blackhawks design, I think what I'd really like to see is a direct throwback to the 1927-28, where they were wearing those straight-up Wicked Witch of the West socks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I think that would be spectacular.
I think we can agree that the team needs to wear white socks with black. But I want the 28 to 30 jerseys. But I think we can all also agree here that a name bar will be necessary if they choose to go these. I just hope they don't go with the 34 to 35 jerseys that are just the black chest, the white red chest stripe.
They've already done that. That was what they did for their last one.
But I could see them doing it. I'm sorry, but I could see Chicago going, you know what, Cam Ward, you just joined us. Which one do you like? And Cam Ward goes, well, I was born on February 29th, so I'm going to pick that one.
No, I'm with TC. They got to go with the Wizard of Oz type stockings there.
You guys are killing the Art Deco. Look right there. I really love this Art Deco 30s design. This is like some avant-garde smoking a cigarette on a French-style cigarette holder, but you're not French-style thing. Don't ruin it with your stockings.
I'm with TC.
I hope someone drops a house on you, Shawn.
I want to see a variation of the 27-28 jersey, but including elements that came from the years after. So, like a white collar that they introduced the next season. I think that would look good. And then
the white collar is definitely an improvement.
Yeah. But you got to, we've discussed, you got to go with those witch style stockings. Those are the ones you got to go with. And then the pants from looking at NHLuniforms.com, the pants from 30-34 with the stripes going around the thighs and then running up the leg as well. I feel
like they're going to go for 34 because they won the cup that year.
There you go. So
I think that might be that they really based the look around because that was their first cup. And I mean, Chicago likes teams that won the cups. I think they've thrown back to every team that won the cup.
And then that would make sense with Boston.
Throwbacks.
That would make sense with
Boston. How great of a tie-in would it be for the Chicago White Sox?
You mean the most irrelevant team in baseball?
The which team?
No.
The White Sox.
Well, they are the what?
If they needed a tie-in with them, and it's just okay. I can name, it's funny, I can't name one player on their team, but I know Obama likes them. It's about it. It's like about his. Like, I know their most famous fan. I remember Mark Burley.
Yeah, it's like
they're
the
about as relevant
Chicago team.
Yeah, they're about as relevant as the current Blackhawks.
What year were the Black Sox? Was that
1919.
1919.
So Chicago didn't even have hockey then. This is that's the pre-hockey years when skateless Joe Jackson. I mean, if he's shoeless, he's skateless.
Oh.
Well, he started out his career as skateless Joe Jackson, and then he ended his career as Six Toes Jackson.
skateless Joe Jackson taking on Babe Dye in the Toronto St. Pats.
All right, so which of the two, based on the two logos, which team do you think has more potential here? Just quickly, Shawn. As far as jersey-wise.
Chicago, because Boston will play it safe, predictable, nice jerseys. They're going to look great, but Chicago has a chance to really pull out the throwback I've been wanting them to do in the entire time I've cared about jerseys.
TC, which one has more potential here?
Chicago. Basically has one jersey to choose from that had this logo. Chicago has a bunch of different jerseys that they could do. I could even see them doing the white version that they wore in 26 to 27, which is in its own right a fantastic looking jersey. So they just have far more choices that they could pick with this logo. So I think that's setting them up for success.
I'm going to go the other way and say Boston is going to take some liberties, and we'll see a faux back in the same way we saw Washington do something we haven't seen before. So I think there's a little more potential there for Boston, but it certainly will be interesting. We'll be looking forward to whenever we get these jerseys, probably closer to the U.S. Thanksgiving holiday. But when they come out, they will definitely be very interesting. And, of course, we'll be covering them. Speaking of Boston and Chicago, it's time to get to our Throwback Throwdown. For this week's Throwback Throwdown, we're going back to a season we were just talking about, the 91-92 season and the 75th anniversary of the NHL. During that season, for the first half of the season, original 6 teams were wearing throwback jerseys. And for the second half of the season, the NHL really went off the board and wore dark jerseys at home. But because we were talking about the Winter Classic logos, we're looking at both Boston's and Chicago's throwback jerseys from that season. So let's start with Boston's 91-92 throwback jersey. It's based on the 1934 jersey, the B logo on the front. We got squared black yolks with a a gold outline and a black outline. The hem has a gold stripe surrounded by black stripes, and that repeats twice on the arms with a big white collar. Chicago, for the 91-92 season, was wearing their multiple stripe jersey. I'm not even going to begin to describe the layout of these stripes, but this is the multiple white stripes running down the front. This is the logo, same logo that we saw them use for the 2009 Winter Classic. We have red shoulder yokes, red collar, 2 simple red stripes on the arm. One of them is surrounded by white stripes. One of them is only only has 1 white stripe. The socks are pretty unique with double white stripes. Both of them are outlined in red. So we'll go first with Boston. Shawn, your Boston review, 91-92 season.
It's one of the perfect. Every jersey here in this season was a perfect throwback, but this one especially, I think, nails it because it perfectly offsets the set that they wore that year. I love how chunky everything is. The stripes are big. The yoke is massive. The logo's big. The name bar is huge. There's 2. Were there actual TV numbers on this jersey?
No, all of them. No. I don't think one original 6 team wore TV numbers.
Didn't need it.
Detroit did.
The arm stripes were so big that it didn't matter. Everything on this jersey is huge, but it's not like a 90s huge in your face thing. It's just like a big solid amount of color, and I really appreciate that about it.
TC.
I love this jersey. This is one of my favorites of the throwbacks from this season. Like Shawn said, I like the big chunky striping. I really like that the yoke and yoke striping go all the way down so that the name bar is in that striping. It just works really well for me. And I like that they had the more old school rounded sweater type collar. Really good touch for a throwback.
Yeah, and I would have to agree with you guys on this one. I think the biggest thing for me is, even though it was a throwback jersey, it kind of looked like it fit in with the Bruins look, especially during that season. If you look at any pictures or footage on YouTube, it just worked. They're playing in the old Boston Garden. They're wearing these throwback jerseys. It kind of looked like they were just part of the jersey roster at the time. These are really excellent jerseys. I love the treatment of the name on the back of the jersey. They didn't throw a blank name bar on there that was going to interfere with the stripes. They just did what they could do, and just excellent jerseys all around here. Let's go to Chicago. Shawn, start us off.
Again, I think that I'm going to carry over almost everything I said about Boston. This fits in with the set that they wore that year, playing in old Chicago Stadium, the arena that was theirs since 1929. These jerseys were worn every time they've been worn in that building. This is probably the most fondly remembered up there with Detroit from that era. It's obviously remembered because it was Dominik Hasek's, one of his first jerseys in the NHL. But I really like that this is such a bold design. It is a black jersey, but there's so much red on it you can't really tell. And despite the almost seemingly nonsensical pattern, it works. It really does. I think that, again, the lack of numbers really helps. I think that this actually would have worked as a full-time alternate in this era for like a Sunday home game or something. It's the same thing as Boston because it fits into the set so well. And even the vintage logo, I think, especially considering it was 1991, they did a good job replicating that because it's not an easy logo to replicate. And I like that they spaced out the Black Hawks, which they made one word in 1986-87.
Good point. I didn't notice that before. That is a good point. TC.
I never noticed that either about the Blackhawks spacing, but that is definitely a nice touch. This jersey, I want to like it so much. It's in the inconsistent striping. Well, not inconsistent, but the seeming randomness of it kind of bothers me. It's a little too flashy for me. But it's definitely not the worst of these 75th anniversary jerseys. But I don't get as excited about it as I do for some of these other ones.
Ryan, you remember that? Did they wear the captaincy with the diamond on it?
I don't believe they did. I don't remember specifically. You'd have to go check some photos.
I'm looking at a photo of Johnny Mariucci here, and he had it on him. It was, because they did what Detroit did in that era. When they were originally worn, they did, like, captain's patches.
Right.
And they were diamonds. So I feel like that would have been something that's actually a minus there, that they didn't go with that, despite all the accuracies. I'm going to try and find a photo.
Yeah, I do remember, actually, from this season, Toronto, Montreal, the Rangers, and Detroit really wore their throwbacks a lot. And I don't know if Boston and Chicago took all the opportunities to wear their throwbacks. What I mean is, I think they were scheduled to wear them every time the original 6 teams matched up. They wore their throwbacks against each other. And like it resulted in, I think the season openers was all original 6 teams. And you had Toronto playing Montreal in Montreal. Montreal was wearing red jerseys. Toronto was wearing blue jerseys. So that was kind of cool. But I don't believe that Chicago or Boston took every opportunity possible to wear their jerseys. I might be mistaken.
Okay, no, they didn't. I found a photo. Their captain was Dirk Graham at that time.
Okay, yeah.
And it was a block white C.
Just on the front, regular.
Just on the front, right above the. Now I want to see if Detroit did the same thing.
Yeah, I don't remember. That's Stevie Yzerman. I think it was a white C, what Detroit did. Anyways, my review for Chicago here. Love the accuracy of the throwbacks here, but it just didn't get me as excited as any of the other original 6 throwbacks from the same season, and that includes the Rangers and Montreal, who weren't really changing too much there. But Shawn pointed out the accuracy of the main logo, which I think is a plus. And I do remember having a Pro Set hockey card from this season of Dominik Hasek wearing this jersey. Might have been Pro Set, Upper Deck, doesn't matter. But that is my fondest memory of this jersey. Let's pick our winners for Throwback Throwdown. We'll start with TC because I see Shawn's joining our research staff and looking things up. So TC, who's your winner here?
For this one, I got to give it to the Bruins. I just really like the way this jersey is laid out, and I think it, like Shawn said, it fits in really well with the identity that they had at the time.
Shawn, your winner and your research.
All right. Research shows that no, the Detroit Red Wings did not do the captain's patch that year. It was a white C with a red outline, so it sort of looked invisible. It was sort of that outline thing they were going for, the Detroit font. So, no, they didn't act, but at the same time, we're not talking about Detroit. We're talking about Chicago. And my winner is going to be Chicago because I think I just remembered this jersey a lot more. I mean, the Boston jersey, I think, is just it's a better jersey in every way. It's just purely a personal thing. But that when I think of the 91-92 jerseys, I think of Chicago and Detroit. 100%. It simply has to do with the fact that they're the ones that, they're the ones in all the video games. They're the ones that most people are exposed to, and then the most commonly available ones. Like, good luck finding the Leafs one from that year, or the Rangers one, or the Habs one.
Yeah,
you can find that. Like they made reproductions of those, and I think they even did Boston, but we never got a Rangers reproduction. We never got a Leafs reproduction, and we certainly never got a Habs reproduction from those.
And I want like, speaking of the Leafs one, they made the retro look, but then they just used their current font and numbers on it. And that's how I want my 75th anniversary Leafs jersey to look. But again, we're not talking about the Leafs. We're talking about Boston versus Chicago. And I got to break the tie here, and I'm going to break it by choosing the Boston Bruins. I just think it connected with me more. It looked more in line with their current set. And that's why I got to choose the Bruins, because it just reminded me more of this season, more so than Chicago's jerseys did. And one other note about this 91-92 season, and it's not about Chicago or Boston. I do remember being at the Leafs home opener for the 91-92 season. So they were wearing their throwbacks against Detroit, who was also wearing their throwbacks. And I do remember that game looking very cool. Even as how old would I have been? I would have been 7. So even as a 7-year-old, I was able to recognize that was a cool-looking game and special to be at. It is time to do fake or authentic. Fake or authentic? Fake or authentic is the part of the podcast where I give 3 statements, which I believe to be factual, and then the writers join in and comment on my statements, and just like the jerseys you see around NHL rinks on fans' backs, you have to determine whether or not they are fake or authentic. Here we go. Statement number 1, fake or authentic. An autographed jersey is a ruined jersey. Shawn, fake or authentic?
Fake if you get it for the right price. I've only ever bought one autographed jersey. It was a Michael Pekka 2003-2004 New York Islanders jersey, and I paid $75 for it, which is about what a customized New York Islanders Michael Pekka jerseys were. So the fact that he signed it was just like, oh, cool, here's a guy I vaguely remember.
To me, that it's just ruined. Someone's drawn on a Michael Pekka jersey. TC.
I get what you mean, and I think we can all agree if we see if I see Andre Pavlik, I want to be wearing a Jets or Thrashers jersey, and I want to take a photo with them.
Yeah.
I don't want an autograph.
No.
Well, I mean, maybe if I have a hockey card, like a nostalgic hockey card, like if I pull up my 2003-2004 MVP set, pull out the Michael Leighton rookie card, maybe him signing that.
Cards are fine, whatever.
Cards are different. Yeah. Cards are meant to be signed. But yeah, I get what you mean. It's just like, is that the one exception to the rule? Yes. Do I generally like signed jerseys? Not really. I'd rather have a photo of me in that jersey with them, shake his hand, say thanks for being a decent goalie that one year, Michael Layton.
TC, fake or authentic on this one?
I'm going to say fake, much for the same reason that Shawn did. I'm not one to have people autograph my jerseys, but I have bought an autographed jersey, and I think y'all are familiar. I have an autographed Danny Heatley Rookie of the Year jersey that I got for $35 on eBay.
Well, it was like motor oil and
it smells like burning flesh.
Oh, pour one out for Dan Snyder. Press F to pay respect to the fallen Thrasher.
Like that, the fact that I have that jersey just makes me so happy. Just Danny Heatley, Rookie of the Year, just the hubris of him autographing it, Rookie of the Year, and then knowing what happened after that. It may make me a bad person, but the one thing I would change about this jersey is I would put a Dan Snyder memorial patch on it.
You mentioned that before. That's fan. That would just be the best. I picture Danny Heatley signing it, but maybe like 6 or 7 years after the fact, and he's got nothing else to put on it. So he's Danny Heatley, rookie of the year,
50 goal scorer with the Senators.
That 1 year where I was rookie of the year. There you go, pal.
I was part of the trade that sent Jaromir Jagr to Florida.
What?
He wasn't part of the trade. The Florida Panthers on the same day acquired Jaromir Jagr and Danny Heatley. Jagr went on to breed relevancy into that club. Danny Heatley went right to Norfolk. It wasn't even their franchise. It wasn't even their AHL franchise. That's where he played the rest of that season.
Really? I did not remember that.
Danny Heatley played a couple games for the Florida Panthers. But it's just funny because here's the thing. Jaromir Jagr, the Panthers will probably be one of the most remembered teams he played for because it was like his last great season was with the Florida Panthers. Yeah. And they made the playoffs with them, and he was like, the NHL grandpa everybody loved, and, people started liking Florida. What's Danny Heatley going to even remember? You guys don't even remember he went to Florida.
I mean, vehicular manslaughter is kind of a big thing to overcome when it comes to your legacy.
He did in Ottawa and San Jose, but then he played for Minnesota.
Don't even remember him with
He played for.
Florida.
I have a 2012-13 O-Pee-Chee card of him in Minnesota.
Wow.
I remember him in Minnesota. I'm looking at him wearing a Ducks jersey. I don't remember that at all.
I remember the Ducks, and that's the thing. They got him for the Ducks. He played for Florida.
Wow. I see pictures of him wearing the Norfolk jersey too. So, well, Danny Heatley, good on you. Rookie of the year, whatever year that was.
Get a sticker. Sticker for Danny Heatley.
Vehicle Commander Extraordinaire. Fake or authentic, number 2.
Guys, we have to get him a sticker.
Oh, fine.
Danny Heatley, you get a sticker. Danny Heatley has to get a bumper sticker.
Oh, that makes us terrible people. Hey, guys, did you see the footage of the crash? We were all over it.
Let's see. Several killed. Bumper. Car noted to have amateur Jersey podcast sticker on the back. Hey guys,
there's no such thing as bad press.
We made it into the CNN report, guys.
We were on CNN. Oh man, we take screen caps of it, do a whole post about it. Did you guys see us on CNN? Oh man. All right, fake or authentic, number 2. Fake or authentic, it would be great to have the 91-92 throwback jerseys brought back, even with the 75th anniversary patches. Fake or authentic, TC?
I'm going to say authentic. They had some really quality jerseys. I actually have Sande's 75th anniversary patch, the Detroit jersey from that season. And it's one of my top 3 jerseys in my collection. I love it because I can wear it. Only people who know that jersey. Other people will look at it and be like, oh, is that a red one? Technically, yes. But really, it's not.
Yeah. Shawn, fake or authentic?
I'd say authentic, but not on ice. I want the CCM vintage full stitch 75th, extra care being done to it. Throw a jock tag, not a jock tag, sorry, a fight strap on there for us. Yeah. Exactly. Like reissue these things, but put great care into it. I don't own these, but if you do want one, I do know that Sports K is clearing them out.
Yeah, but then they're not exactly the same. Then you got to buy the 75th anniversary.
Okay, but let's be clear here. The 91-92, the CCM Masca replicas.
I hate Masca.
Low tier. Like, okay, so this is, we're not counting authentics here. So top tier, I think, is like starter pro player, then CCM 550, then Edge. Well, then Edge Winter Classic. Then I'd go post Masca CCM, but pre when they got really good. Then Masca, then Edge.
You left out the Adidas Authentics.
What? No, I said I wasn't counting authentics.
Oh, okay, all right. And you left out poor Fanatics. They didn't even have a chance.
Okay, Fanatics is better than Edge. I'm going to go on record here and say that Edge Premier is worse than Fanatics for the simple reason that... I'll tell you why. Edge jerseys, you rub up against any mildly not smooth surface, not even rough, but mild, like even the side of your car. Oh, you got to pull. You got another pull. You got to pull.
What kind of car are you driving that is causing a pull on a jersey?
No, I didn't. Oh, come on. No, the paint was too rough. You know, like this is the thing. These Edge jerseys, they have no life to, and the stupid shoulder patches.
Yeah, well, that was the worst move.
Haven't aged well. Yeah. Literally, your Edge Premiers have not aged well.
The day that first Edge replica came out and you saw that's how they were doing the shoulder patches, jersey replication has just been terrible ever since. Like there's never been a jersey
you don't get
since
Frankenstein
that time.
Jerseys anymore, though.
What's that?
You don't get Frankenstein jerseys anymore, though.
No, that's true. But
like the Edge Frankenstein jersey, like realistically, I think everybody should go out and buy one. Like, try to find a Frankenstein jersey.
All right, let's go to Fake or Authentic, number 3 here. I put some thought into this one, so it's a bit longer, but here we go. Fake or Authentic. A Neanderthal with a club guards a closet which houses every single NHL jersey from the 1980s. A second Neanderthal guards another closet which houses every single NHL jersey from the 1970s. Fake or Authentic? I'm going for the 1980s jerseys. Shawn.
Fake. I'm going for the 70s. I want my Scouts and my Rockies and my Barons and my Golden Seals and my Seals and my Bay Area Seals. And I think Pittsburgh looks better in double blue. Now, I get why you'd want to go for the 80s ones. There are a lot better jerseys in there, let's be clear. You know, a lot of the teams look the same, but, you know, yeah, I'm going for the 70s ones. You know, I get that, like, Colton Orr is going to be guarding them, but, like, you know.
I said a Neanderthal. I didn't give him a name. Jeez.
All right, I'll name them. Colton Orr and Jeff Finger.
Wow. Nice. There's some good Leaf references there. TC, fake or authentic, you're going for the closet with the 80s jerseys.
Fake. I do like the 80s jerseys, but for many of the same reasons that Shawn listed. You know, I love the Penguins in the double scheme, and the 78, 79 one I think are my favorite Pens jerseys. And you get these franchises like the Seals. The Seals, that teal jersey set was spectacular. I know it gets a lot of hate from people who don't like the striping on the shoulders, but I think it was great. It's unique, and it's something that I wouldn't mind seeing replicated today. You get
white skates.
Yeah, we'll overlook that.
Oh,
the Colorado Rockies. You get the Barons. The Barons had a really solid uniform set, and you know you still get some of my favorite 80s uniforms are still there in the late 70s, like the Minnesota North Stars without the black. You get the Whalers in the original green. I just think the 70s, there may be more like better options in the 80s, but they have some really iconic looking jerseys in the 70s.
All right. And the reason I chose the 80s is because you get great jerseys like the Flying V jerseys from the Canucks. They're late 80s yellow jerseys. You get the Kings.
You can still get the Flying V in the 70s.
You can, but you don't get that late 80s Canucks jersey. That's a very... I love that jersey.
But you don't... Actually, no. I will say a correction. You do get the Rockies.
In 80-81, yeah.
You will get them for 81. But what you don't get in the 70s, you don't get the Atlanta Flames. So you don't get the Atlanta Flames in the 80s. You don't get...
the Flames are 79 to 80.
Okay, but you don't get the original Atlanta Flames jerseys, the super rare 72, 73s. You also don't get the Washington white pants jerseys from when they won 8 games.
You don't get white pants though. It's just jerseys in the closets.
No. Yeah, but do I really want a Gretzky Oilers jersey, or do I want a Brad Park Rangers jersey? Oh, you get the round number Rangers jerseys.
That's true.
Come on.
But you also get those. You get the early 80s blue jerseys that say New York on them. Those are kind of they're cute. Those are cute. What else?
You get the Kings jerseys with the full length yoke.
Yeah, those are
curves
good too.
Down. Those are gorgeous.
The variations of the North Stars.
Mickey Mouse.
What else do you get in the 80s? I mean, fantastic All-Star Game jerseys. The 80s might have been the best for the All-Star Game jerseys. And
early 2000s.
You guys are... you're so young, Shawn. Unbelievable.
Ooh, you get the Devils Christmas jerseys.
Yep.
They're called Mickey Mouse jerseys. Glad.
You get the...
Wayne Gretzky called them that.
He did. No, he called them a Mickey Mouse team. Not the jerseys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then look what happened.
You do
Mickey Mouse actually got a team.
Yes.
With the 80s.
That's what happened.
If you're choosing the 80s closet, I do want to say one thing. If you're choosing the 80s closet, you get, it looks like, 2 different variations of Whalers jerseys featuring our favorite, Pucky the Whale.
Yes.
Pucky!
We get Pucky. But you get him in the 70s, too.
Yeah, you get Pucky
in the
70s.
You get one.
You get young, fresh-faced Pucky in 40.
Oh,
lost his shoulder patch gig.
Bright-eyed and bushy whale-tailed, ready to take on the NHL.
They gave him a Fudgy the Whale when he first came in, and he said, "You're a whale shoulder patch."
All right, so that was Fake or Authentic. For this episode, we are going to skip the mailbag. We didn't do a good job promoting it this week, but if you do want to ask a question, you can leave it in the HJC mailbag by going to hockeyjerseyconcepts.com. There's a form on the side of the page, or you can go to the podcast tab. You'll see the form to leave your question, leave your name. We'll give you some credit for the question. You also get your name read on the podcast, or you can email it to mailbag@hockeyjerseyconcepts.com. Give us some good questions. They don't even have to be hockey related. Solid question, and it'll get read on a future Jersey Nerds podcast. That is what we have for this week. As always on the blog, we have the Jersey Casual line of things that you can buy. T-shirts, stickers, duvet covers. No one is taking up the offer of the duvet cover. Buy a duvet cover, you're automatically entered into Concept of the Year semifinal vote. We also have the Concept of the Week vote going on as we do every week. And the University of Michigan Just for Fun redesign is going on. That's, if you're listening to this episode as it comes out, you have it until Friday to get your designs in. So that will be pretty interesting. They always have a good look, University of Michigan. So interested to see what entries come in. Shawn, TC, thanks for joining us this week.
Always a pleasure.
Have another donut.
Have another donut, you fat pig.
It's because you fell, you fat pig. Yeah, have another donut.
Jim Schoenfeld? Rick Schoenfeld? What was
Jim Schoenfeld.
Jim Schoenfeld. And then he also threw benches too. And sticks. He was good at throwing sticks. Man, those were the days. We need some more.
This is a funny story. That was on SportsCenter. My dad comes into the room and he says, "I remember that." Like, it was like he didn't realize it had been 30 years since that happened.
Wow, yeah.
It's like, I was 25 when that happened. I remember that, and I'm like, oh, geez, I made my dad feel, Jim Schoenfeld made my dad feel old.
We need more coaches just losing their shit, throwing stuff on the ice.
You know what we need? We need more coach rants. Like, when's the last time we had a really good coach rant? Like I mean, everybody knows, like, the football ones are always great. The basketball ones were good in Toronto when Sam Mitchell was here. But, like, since Torts?
Yeah, and
But Torts is a good team right now, so he has nothing to yell about.
He's trying to control himself. I guess that's what I'm saying, Brooksy.
You know?
We need more of that. So, coaches, come on, lose your shit. We need more of that.
Bruce Boudreau looks like he's ready to lose his shit. And
yeah,
I mean,
he's also looks like he's ready to lose his job again. So
give Barry Trotz a month at the helm of the Islanders, and we'll see a meltdown.
like the funny thing about Paul Maurice, and Ryan can stand this with when he was his time in Toronto. The guy holds no punches, but he's monotone.
He's hilarious.
He'll literally get up there and be like, yeah, Jay Harrison just literally shat the bed today, and I have no idea what J.S. O'Ban was thinking, and I just think we need to send these guys right down to the AHL where they belong. And I don't know what the GM's thinking. We liked having Steiner around, so my ass is gas once the team goes to shit. But
we had a lot of guys not playing tonight. I don't know how we're going to get out of this.
Yeah, Paul Maurice is the best coach, because it's funny because, like, they'll be doing really well and you have the same reaction. We played well.
Yeah,
that's all I can say. But if the team's doing shit, he goes on the rants that you want, but they're monotone.
There's no passion in it.
Well, there is passion in it, but it's all to the players. When he gets in front of the media, he gives them nothing. But they're hysterical. Like,
my wife.
remember he was talking. I think I just remember him saying Bates Battaglia.
Bates Battaglia, great name.
And I was just like, you have a name like Bates Battaglia, you suck all the uniqueness out of it. When Maurice starts talking about, he's like, yes, Sundin and Battaglia will be playing on the same line today because Roberts can't, keep the puck for 5 minutes, so we're just gonna have to deal with that as it comes. We should really do the supercut of the HJC podcast of every obscure Leaf reference.
That's a podcast specifically for just some people there. There'd be a lot of haters if we did an all Leafs podcast talking about bad Leafs.
It would last 17 hours.
I literally just bring up the 0506 roster and go, okay, who do we have here?
And then you go on for another 10 years. Ben Andrus. Oh. You just these names. I mean, you go through the rotating carousel of goalies.
And the funny thing is, like, everybody says, like, you bring up guys that are actually halfway decent, and for some reason Leaf fans hate. Like, what did Carlo Koliakovo ever do wrong? He was a decent defenseman. He just had his knee literally taken out of him by Nick Hjalmarsson.
He was drafted in the first round, and people just expected
he was a solid defenseman. I'm sorry, but, like, if you start giving Steen, Stajan, and Koliakovo crap, but you won't give, like, Jeff Finger crap, like, I'm sorry. Or Komisarek.
Pavel Kubina. Anyways, we're getting off track. We're burning up all our material here for the Terrible Leafs podcast, which will come at a week when there's just absolutely no news. We'll go to the Terrible Leafs podcast, but that's what we have for this week. Let us know what you like about the podcast, what you hate about the podcast. Leave some feedback, leave some comments wherever you find this podcast, or you can email us mailbag@hockeyjerseyconcepts.com. We want to know what you like and what you don't like. We want to improve this podcast. And tell your friends about the podcast. Get them listening to it. Let's get some more people listening to the podcast, and then we can all enjoy it and get your feedback and add more to each episode as we go along. That's what we have for you tonight. Thanks for listening, everybody. Goodbye.